And we are live. Paul Fontaine, Jeff Hawkins on the Dynamite show here on the Fight Game Media Patreon, as well as the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. I want to thank you all for joining us today, and hopefully some people are going to join us live to participate in the conversation. And Jeff, this was the go home for, well, the Dynamite go home anyways, for Grand Slam, which is next week. And it was a show. And before we break down tonight, let's talk a little bit about next week's Grand Slam. Last ticket count I saw was they're right around 6,000 for a 20,000 seat building in Queens.
They're offering a buy one, get one at a discount deal.
So that is already okay. Now, when these tickets originally went on sale, they were as much as double and in most cases, at least 50% higher than the same tickets for last year. Good friend of ours, listener to the show, Dean, had went and he looked for the same tickets he had last year, and they were literally exactly double. And I thought at the time, it's not a bad strategy. You'll sell a lot of tickets originally, and then the week or two before the show, you start lowering them, and they'll sell a ton. And so far, they sold 5,000, I think, the opening week, and then not a lot since then.
I've been looking at Wrestle tickets a little bit. Or Wrestle Ticks. I'm sorry if I botched that at all. Full Gear's doing all right in LA. They've sold like 5,000 out of 6.
Yeah.
Tonight's show was set up for 2,800 and they only sold 2,500.
Yeah. So they moved 300 tickets in the last 2 days because I think it was at 2,200 on Monday. But that's with Moxley.
SmackDown has 12,000 out for this show. On Friday. So I don't want to sound alarm bells because there's no alarm to be had.
No.
The TV money is floating this company for the most part. Not live,
for now.
Not live gates.
They've got a year left on their deal.
Yes.
They're in the negotiations and ratings are steady. They're not knocking it out of the park.
I will be very interested in the total viewers this week of this show versus NXT last night.
I think it's gonna be close.
I think it's gonna be very close.
Was there any competition tonight? I don't know.
Oh no, the WNBA was on
baseball,
ESPN.
Baseball probably, but probably baseball on some network.
Yeah,
but So that they got
nothing major.
There.
Nothing major though. No.
The other thing
football,
they do have that I think will help. Raw was down this week, and I think there's a certain segment of people that they're going to watch 2 hours of wrestling. It might be Monday, it might be Wednesday, it might be Friday. And they might have skipped Monday for football. They might be watching today.
Right.
So they might get some viewers that would have normally watched Raw. But yeah, last night's NXT did 850,000.
Yes.
Yeah, which is the biggest number they've done in almost 3 years.
Yes.
And I think they're safe in 18 to 49. The NXT did a really good number, 0.26. They'll be above that. They should be above a 0.3. And next week, I think they'll do really well. Regardless of how the ticket sales go, they got a really good show next week. And we've talked about their build and we've criticized it. I actually think they've built this show up really well.
I think they have, but on the other hand, it's so weird to me because we're building to the TV main events as opposed to they did a little bit of building towards Wrestle Dream. I get it, but that's but that's where I would focus it all in, and I would stop these other
I would normally
quote unquote major shows. I would normally. I don't know. I'm not tethered to that.
Yeah, this particular week, I think Grand Slam is the more important show.
I agree, and I would have focused it all on that. Then you have to.
Because people are confused. I've seen discussion when is Joe and MJF going to wrestle? Is it going to be Wrestle Dream? Is it going to be Grand Slam? And we didn't know till tonight. And then I assumed that, one of those shows was going to be Roddy and one was going to be MJF. And we still might get there, especially based on tonight, or it might actually, I think what we're going to get at Wrestle Dream is probably Cole versus Roddy Strong, but we might even get that next week, but, again, we don't know. Right. But I do I think the Wrestle Dream tickets sold pretty well the opening week. I think they were at around.
They're doing pretty well. I think they got like 3/4 of the house full.
Yeah, so that's not bad. And so for them, it's not as much of our priority, and they've got a good card for that show so far. Danielson and Zack Sabre, Swerve and Hangman. I think I read that Ospreay is going to be on the show. You assume we're going to get an MJF title defense. We're obviously going to get Moxley. We're obviously going to get Darby in a big match. Probably challenging for the TNT title, I would expect.
And we're getting the Takeshita match on that one.
And Ibushi. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And then, Omega, maybe Omega and the Elite against somebody. So, they've got time to build that as well. I mean, that's still 3 weeks away. So, you got time. But so I mean, it'll be interesting to see how the ticket sales go for Grand Slam now that we've got a card. And like I said, it is a good card. We got Jon Moxley defending the international title against Rey Fénix. At this point, Jon Moxley defending this title is, I think it's meaningless.
I agree.
Yeah, like he's doing it every week and it's against the same kind of people. The match will be great. Don't get me wrong. But we've also got a women's title match, Saraya and Toni. So it'll be the first time we've seen Saraya in a singles match since she won the belt. Claudio and Eddie, title versus title. I think that one, in a lot of ways, might be the most, for me, it's the most anticipated match on the show. For both their titles, the ROH title and the NJPW Strong title.
I would agree. I'd make it the main event.
Yeah, I don't think
maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Well, no, you gotta make MJF. And,
yeah. You got to make and that's a big
Joe,
match too.
The main.
MJF.
I'd make it the co-main. I'd make it the second to last, definitely.
MJF and Samoa Joe for the world title. Joe won the tournament, spoiler alert. And then also Jericho and Sammy Guevara, which I thought they did a great promo segment to build that up. I don't know how you felt. We'll talk about it later, but I really enjoyed what they did tonight. And I told them so on Twitter. So
that's simp for those likes, Paul. Simp for them. Come on.
Hey, whatever. Yeah, me and Roddy Strong, the couple simps. Yeah. So let's get into the show. And when we're done, I'm gonna go back to a topic I brought up on Twitter earlier in the week. Bryan Danielson on Collision pointed out, and then he confirmed it in an interview with Sports Illustrated, that he's basically wrapping up his career over the next year. He'll never fully quit. Like, he'll come back for occasional matches here and there, but basically the next year is going to be kind of the Danielson final countdown tour, if you will. And and he's gonna want to do a bunch of dream matches. And Zack Sabre Jr., supposedly is the first one. So we'll see what else he comes up with. And I asked, what would you do for theoretically All In next year would be his retirement show.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm Tony, that's what I bill it as. Whether or not you expect him back 6 months later, that's his retirement show. And you build a big match for that show. So I asked on Twitter, what matches would you do? And we had some good responses. So we'll get into that after the Dynamite recap. But AEW Dynamite from Cincinnati in front of Jon Moxley's closest friends and not too many other people.
Wow.
Well, it's what, 2,500 you said?
Well, yeah. Here's my question. Are we running the same towns too many times?
I believe we are. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what would be the cure for that then? Is the cure to go to other cities? Is there an issue here with the Evil Empire shutting them out of? I don't think they're shutting them out of smaller arenas in other places. But I mean, the days of being, they're not exclusively Florida, Texas anymore.
Could they maybe go to smaller?
New York has been there a few times now. It costs money to run shows when you need to travel with all the gear and stuff like that, but they do that anyways up and down the Eastern Seaboard. Yeah. Do we need a little bit more of a Midwest? Well, we don't need Chicago anymore in terms of the Midwest.
They've never been to North Dakota. I mean, there's Fargo.
Maybe making this a Eurocentric promotion and flying over there for about 6 months. And
no, but you could probably do like 2 weeks over there. Like run Collision and Dynamite for a couple weeks. And
I think that'd be a problem with the live aspect.
Okay. Oh, you're with
WBD.
Well, they could tape it.
That's the issue. But I think WBD requires them to be live.
Well, they shouldn't. That's stupid.
Part of it is.
That's dumb. If you got a hot crowd in a big building, I don't think
it should
matter that it's live.
I agree.
But you could also go to like smaller markets, college towns, smaller buildings, maybe.
They've been doing that though. They've been going to college towns for the most
they
part.
used to. They've been going to big buildings now, and not.
Yeah, and they're not filling them, and they're getting tarped off. I would agree. Maybe go back to what works.
Yeah, and then there's some markets they haven't hit. Like I know our friend Preet Paul. I believe he's a subscriber. He's constantly talking about how they haven't gone to BC yet. and you've got Victoria, you've got Vancouver, you've probably even Kelowna you could run. And
I am a fan of, I know people keep suggesting this, and it's been suggested for a long time, doing something off the beaten path.
Yes.
In terms of
like the Jarrett Cruise.
Like the Jarrett Cruise, like the club that Nitro did for a while.
Novella?
Yeah, Club Novella. You know, finding those types of things and actually doing some research in there. And
just like a nightclub or something.
I mean, we have Grand Slam in a tennis stadium, so I mean, they know how to do it. It's just, let's not go big necessarily.
Could they do the Manhattan Center, and like just charge to the nose for those tickets, and do like kind of a retro feel, like an ECW kind of Ring of Honor,
the old Raw type stuff?
Yeah,
you could.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Like, I don't know, just, thinking out of the box. But, I mean, to be fair,
though.
I
agree.
When they do have these small crowds, though, they tend to be hot, and they were for the most part here.
They're mic'd well.
Yeah, they kind of weren't there for most of the main event, but most of the rest of the show, I thought they were pretty hot. And we started out with their favorite, Jon Moxley, defending the international title against Big Bill. They showed highlights of the Danielson Starks promo from Collision. That was freaking awesome. I thought Collision for the most part was, kind of a skippable show, but we got that awesome segment. We got the Jade Cargill return, and then there was an awesome match with Roddy Strong and Darby. So, I didn't feel like I wasted my time watching it, but if I hadn't have seen it, I could have caught those clips on YouTube and I would have missed a great match, and that's about it. But Jon Moxley and Big Bill, they had a different kind of match than Jon Moxley usually has. And Excalibur brought up the Brody Lee match, and it kind of reminded me of that, actually. Like, it was a big man, kind of controlling Moxley for the most part. Moxley got busted open pretty early, and it was kind of a WWE-ish style match, but, a little bit more athletic than what you would typically get from there. But yeah, it was just basically back and forth, but, a little more offensive build than you might expect on paper. Eventually, Mox got him down and hit the elbows of death, gave him a sleeper. Bill got to his feet. Mox was on his back. That's when X brought up the Moxley Brody Lee match. Mox hit a cutter and Bill went outside the ring. Mox goes to the top, and then that's when Ricky Starks got involved. So out comes Danielson, and Danielson's just beating the shit out of him at ringside. It was almost like the strap match, but Starks eventually came back and tossed him into the steps. Bill hit a choke slam and got like a 2 7/8 that, I think the crowd bought because there was that whole distraction and everything. And then crowd was chanting for Mox. Bill flipped him off. Bill went for a choke slam, but Mox got a triangle. Danielson was holding off Starks with a choke, and Big Bill tapped to the triangle. And that was a fun match, like Jon Moxley opening every show, defending his title. I mean, it's fine. It doesn't mean anything, but
Mox gets to bleed, which I think is a bit of a, I mean, was that hard way or no?
I couldn't tell. Probably.
Okay. I would have liked this a little bit more viciousness from, I saw the comment.
We'll get
Convoy.
to that.
Yeah, it will. I have notes.
Okay.
I like Big Bill a lot. I don't even think he should. Did he officially lose, or was it a DQ finish?
No. He tapped.
See, I wouldn't have had him tap. I would have just done the beatdown.
Yeah, I mean, you could have. I think they want to stay away from that. But if you do one DQ every like 2 months, there's nothing wrong with that.
And you protect Bill a little bit more because Bill needs it. He needs to be built up a bit. I liked him a little bit better with Brian Cage, but I like this teaming with Starks a lot. I always like the visual of small guy, big guy.
It gives you that Diesel Shawn Michaels thing. Yeah. Which, Ricky Starks is kind of slowly getting away from being The Rock and developing his own personality. And there is some HBK in there.
Also kind of find it amazing that, I mean, you knew it would happen, but how seamless now the Blackpool Combat Club are as baby faces now.
Well, I think that was just for this program. I'm not necessarily sure there.
But they can do that. I mean, it's a lot like Flair in 84, 85, when he could go back and forth from fighting Russians to then fighting like Tully or whatever. So, yeah.
And I think the crowd secretly kind of wants to cheer them anyways. So, they kind of have to work really hard to get booed, and they don't really have to work that hard to get cheered. Although I think they really don't like Claudio.
Yuta's going to be the problem.
Yeah. But he's fun. Like, I think I think they could get into him getting beat up and keep coming back. Like, you know, if you gave him a match against, you know, like Big Bill, for instance, you know, and they did a match where Big Bill was just beating the crap out of him. By the end of that match, they'd be going crazy for Wheeler Yuta, you know, and even if he lost, and maybe that's what, you know, you could have done here and then build to this match. But Mox just seems to be defending it every week and getting bloodied, and he loves it, and he's living his best life, and no criticism there. They continued brawling after the match. Starks and Big Bill were double teaming Danielson, so Claudio made the save. So now it's 3-on-2 for the quote unquote baby faces. So Ricky and Big Bill left, and Ricky's mad because his chain was broken, and then he starts saying, "You broke my pearl necklace," which, yeah, he said that twice to make sure he got the line in. And Mox's face is a bloody mess. And then they put up a graphic here that Moxley and Phoenix are going to be wrestling next week, which they set up last week. So that'll be, like I said, I mentioned that earlier, it'll be a great match. And they did a little promo later on talking about that, which I think post-match was just your standard stuff, right?
Yeah, I'm a little. I was gonna bring this up if we talked about Collision any, but we're not going to, so I'm gonna bring it up here.
Sure.
American wrestling needs to do something with luchadors to build up credibility again, because we're now going into 20 some odd years of while we love watching them, and trust me, like, look, Psychosis and La Parka, one of my favorite underrated tag teams out there. Guys in masks equal going to lose in big matches. Unless you're Ray. And that's a problem. And I think people do tune out now. Where do they see masked guys as geeks? And I don't know if they're gonna let Phoenix beat Moxley. I highly doubt it.
I'll be honest with you. If you lined up 5 or 6 of these guys that, you know, that aren't on every week, that haven't been around since day one, they're champions. I'm talking about your Commander, your Gravity, your Bandito. You line them all up in a line, I can't tell you which one is which.
Right. Like, and you know, I don't think you're alone.
Yeah. And so to me, like, they bring out these guys and it's all the same guy. Like, Phoenix does not apply there. I'll be straight. No. Like, you know, he's a guy that has a little bit of credibility because he's won titles and everything like that. So I think, and there is a backstory here, you know, like Moxley injured him, you know, and all that. So
no, this is just a general comment. This isn't
no, I get
Phoenix,
it.
although I'm a little bit ahead of Phoenix.
But we had that match on Collision, which was the 3 guys from Lucha Underground against what are their names? The Bullet Club Gold.
Bullet Club Gold.
Yeah. And it was the former Drago and Gravity and gosh, I can't even remember now. But they gave him some weird name.
It's the former Dralistico, who
Infermo de Infermo or something like Muerte de Inferno. What are you doing? Like,
he's a kid in the dragon mask.
Pay for Drago, you know, like, or just
Drago, that's it.
Dragon Man or something. But yeah, I mean, I'm watching this, and yeah, they're all great. Like, the matches are great, and
yeah, they're fun to watch. But at the same time, it's this Nitro mentality that these guys were brought in. They get to have great matches against each other, and then once they fight a guy that people like, they're gonna lose.
More often than not, yeah. Or eventually they may get like a, you know, some sort of a secondary title, but then, you know, like they don't even have a title like that, really. The international title
would be the one that I'd do.
Right, but now it's an important title. So, you know, there's really no other unimportant title. I mean, maybe, you know, ROH TV title if Joe didn't have it.
The TNT title could stand it for
well, and I mean, hey, we got a big luchador holding that one, so remarkable Renee Paquette was with Roddy in the Kingdom. He's there in his glasses, and Renee had a leather jacket on for some reason. And Cole interrupted the interview before they could say anything.
It was very end of Grease, wasn't it?
She's wearing
the
Sandy.
Motorcycle.
Sandy.
She's Sandy from Grease. Yeah.
She tried to talk, or he tried to talk Roddy out of facing Joe, worried that Joe might break his neck for real. And then, you know, Roddy's offended that he's insinuating that my neck isn't already injured. And the Kingdom said they believed in him. And the only person that Cole believes in is Max. And he promised to break Max's back and win the title because he's a wrestling legend. I love that wrestling legend tagline for Roddy Strong, considering he's portrayed as a geek. And I will say I've been entertained by him. But when you got to the main event and this guy that's been portrayed as a simp geek is now in the tournament finals, the crowd wasn't buying it. Unfortunately, that is the problem you get when you do stuff like this. But I'm not going to lie and say I haven't been entertained by it. And the match was good. It just didn't have any heat.
I agree.
Yeah, we got highlights of Takeshita pinning Kenny out to win the 6-man in London, and Tony Khan told us we're going to be seeing a lot of clips from London over the shows, and good on him. You want to put that out there as much as you can. AEW in front of 80,000 people, or 73,000, as Brandon Thurston reported earlier today, which we won't get into. And then they showed highlights of him beating him in the one-on-one singles rematch at All Out. And then we cut to the ring, and it's Tony Schiavone with the easel behind him. And Don Callis comes out and he says, when you're the top wrestler in a promotion, you're called the ace. And he brings up all these names from the past, Kawada, Chono, Antonio Inoki, and all these people. I can't remember all the names he brought up, but he says, my man right here, he's not the ace. He's better than the ace. He's the alpha. And I thought they were setting up a match with Tanahashi because he's the ace of New Japan, but no. He says, people say we should feel bad, but I feel nothing after beating Kenny Omega. When you're the alpha, you don't feel, you take. And then when you think you've taken everything, you take more. And beating him twice isn't enough. Now we're gonna break his heart. And I promise to reveal who my next target is, Kenny. This one's gonna kill you. And I wrote down it's gonna be Ibushi. And he says, we're going to tear out the living, breathing heart of Kenny Omega. And they pull off the thing, and it's Takeshita with a sword over Ibushi's head. He says, we won't just beat him. We won't just take him. We won't just pin him. We're going to butcher him. We're going to skin him. We're going to burn him. And we'll love the fact that while we're spilling his blood, you'll be at home helpless, watching like the pathetic cuck that you are. And then he slaps Ibushi's face with the screwdriver and sticks it into the painting. And then for some reason, the stagehand brought out roses, which Callis then hands to Takeshita. And Takeshita then shoves them in Tony Schiavone's face. No idea what that was about. And then that was it. But I love this. And I guess we're going to get Takeshita and Kota Ibushi at some point, which should be fun.
I love the rebrand. I love the name Alpha.
Yeah. Because now people don't have to spell Omega out Konosuke Takeshita. Yeah, Alpha and Omega. Oh my God. I'm an idiot.
This is why I'm here, Paul.
Yeah, I know.
I'm here for that help.
Beginning and the end.
Let's put a little asterisk on Tony throwing up a little in his mouth.
Yeah.
When we start talking about Clever. Because we're going to talk about Clever in a little bit.
Oh,
that was on my list of clever things that I don't want to see. I don't want to see that. I want Tony to play it straight. He is an announcer. Thank you. But no, this is great. That photo is preposterous, or the painting was preposterous. Good on Mel Coleman.
Oh yeah,
doing that. Almost biblical in a way. I was expecting him to be on him.
He was like the angel, or Jacob, wrestling.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was saying like Abraham and Jacob. You put him on the altar there and have him do that. But no, I like this. I'm
totally 100% right. Like at some point, Callis is pulling that thing off and he's staring at himself with Kenny over. Yeah.
Yes, and it'll be Takeshita. Takeshita probably going, I got a painting for you.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
And the worm has turned. But and I think the flowers were just part Japanese custom, part this is a memorial service for Ibushi type of thing.
Okay. And he's got to beat Ibushi, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, he needs to destroy Ibushi.
Yeah.
He needs to although after you read all that, I went, so gimmick match, huh?
Yeah.
How's he gonna burn him and butcher him at the same time?
I love the way he said cuck.
That got some of the. I was watching the background. I got a couple of the fans and like that kind of thing. Yeah, I like that too.
I couldn't take my eyes off Don. He's just the best, and the worst. Winnipeg does that. So Excalibur pitches to El Scoops, which is Alex Marvez, and it's Blackpool Combat Club. No Wheeler. And Danielson says, we love it when things escalate. He says, we got a challenge at Collision. Ricky Starks and Big Bill against me and Claudio. And then they mention that Moxley's defending against Phoenix and Eddie's defending against Claudio. And then Mox says, that's great. We both have a day off next week. He says these aren't even real title matches. And then before they get too far, Phoenix interrupts and he's got security and he's like trying to get in Moxley's face, and Moxley's laughing at him and mockingly bowing at him, covered in blood from the match. And you get a lot of heat for this. And then in the meantime, you see in the background, and then the camera slowly pans to them, and it's just Kingston and Claudio just staring at each other, doing a silent, just they hate each other. And then Eddie, you can hear the crowd chanting Eddie, and then Eddie just looks at him, he says, "One more week," and he laughs and walks off. And I thought that was great, like simple and perfect.
I liked most of this a lot. I actually thought Moxley was underwhelming on the promo that he was doing. Although I enjoyed his feud with his sweatshirt, which he couldn't get on.
It's like hanging around.
Yeah, I liked Phoenix like running through trying to get into this promo to yell at Moxley. I thought that was kind of a little nice touch of, well, if this were real and I were standing around and I saw them doing that. I mean, and Kingston, the presence of Eddie Kingston is such a welcome thing, because it, much like Callis and his hate is so palpable on screen, Eddie Kingston and this is going to be a fight type of thing is so real every time he comes on screen that I want more of that.
And don't overthink this. He's got to win. It's New York. It's the Grand Slam. He's got to win.
You can take the belt off of him in a Wrestle Dream if you need to.
Yeah, or Super Card of Honor or whatever. Yeah.
Super Card of Honor, I think, is where. See, I think that sets up Kingston for the Super Card of Honor match where he wins it. I think that's where they're going to do the win, and I think that'd be a mistake. I think
you think he loses?
Yeah.
Wow. I see. I think he's got to win next week. But
wait, is this unification? Is this both belts on the line?
Both belts.
No, Kingston wins. That's my fault. Yeah. I thought this was to set up the title match for some reason.
But I mean, you could still do the rematch at, and it could even be like a loser leaves Ring of Honor or something like that. And then you get Claudio
that's
out
fine.
Of there. Yeah. All right. And then we get Renee with Hook. And before he gets a chance to say anything, Orange Cassidy wanders onto the set and he says, "I don't know why Hook's so mad. He can wrestle. He's not taped up." He says, "He's got a belt. I used to be a champ." And then Hook says, "You're a great champ." And then Orange says, "Yeah, you are too." And then Renee asks him, "How are you doing?" And he says, "I'm just really tired." And then that was it. Like, again, like the opening segment last week, I have no idea what the point of this was, but it was an entertaining 30 seconds.
Yeah, I actually thought Orange Cassidy was going to ask for a title match.
Well, that's kind of what it looked like, but I mean, I suppose it could happen, or they could.
It was for the laugh. It was for the I'm very tired.
I'm very tired.
Okay.
Yeah, and he probably is. I mean,
I would be too.
Yeah, and then we go to just an absolute travesty of a match. That is not a compliment in any way. Toni Storm, Hikaru Shida, Nyla Rose, and Britt Baker, 4-way number 1 contenders match for the AEW Women's World Title. Okay, Toni Storm is amazing in this gimmick. Like, she is, we've talked about it. Her promos are just, they pop the crowd. They're funny. She leans into it. She's great. It does not work in the context of a wrestling match.
The gimmick has to be shut off for the match.
Yeah, but I don't know how you do that. But I mean, so it started out, she bailed at first. And then when the women started fighting, she gets in the ring and poses. And then Nyla spins her around and screams at her, "Have you lost your mind?" And I think that's been established. And then you've got constantly Britt and Shida just arguing nonstop through the whole match. And anytime any one of them tries to do anything, the other one's in their way, to the point where they're like Eddie and Claudio at this point, even though they're supposed to be friends. Then Toni finally started wrestling. Nyla gave her a beast bomb for 2. Shida went to knee Nyla in the head, but she hit Toni. And then Nyla got another 2 count out of it, and Shida made the save. Then Nyla chokeslammed Britt. Shida rolled her up and then hit a knee to the back of her head. Then she hit a katana kick. Shida got 2, but Britt broke it up. Britt hits a stomp that didn't even come close to hitting.
No.
And then Toni just rolled Britt up after hitting the stomp and got the win. And then she posed and she went off to the back, and then Britt and Hikaru Shida were still yelling at each other. And Nyla just walked off, making fun of the fact that Britt and Shida were arguing. Didn't care one bit that she lost this match. This was bad on a number of levels.
The feud between Shida and Britt doesn't work if you're in a 4-way. because it's every woman for herself. So it doesn't matter if Britt Baker super kicks Shida in the match.
Yeah, exactly.
And Shida can't be mad about that because everybody's trying to win.
Theoretically.
That's the thing that drove me nuts about this. Nyla deserves better.
She should
and Toni needs to, I mean, look, the posing in front of Nyla during the match, it's like, okay, we're gonna turn her into Santino Marella. What are we doing here, guys?
But I mean, I will say the crowd loved it. I guess she's a babyface now.
Yes.
And okay, that's fine. But I mean, she's a good wrestler, and she doesn't really get a chance to show it with this gimmick. Always good for her if you can get paid without having to bust your ass. But
the personality thing can be in between the notes and stuff like that. But in the ring, she needs to be focused. And she can't be doing this crazy thing necessarily unless you want to bump her down to mid-card comedy gimmick. That's fine if that's what you want to do. I won't be doing that with Toni Storm.
Yeah.
And part of me thinks she's going to win by throwing a shoe at somebody at some point and hitting it.
I do think she's probably going to beat Saraya.
I don't. I think not yet. At least I think Ruby
continue this crazy gimmick.
That yes.
Yeah, could be cement this because I think they're split, but I wasn't 100% positive. And
I didn't dislike it as much as you did, but that curb stomp did kind of make me go, man, that was like right in the middle of like her butt. That wasn't
and then it led to the finish, which made it even worse.
Yeah.
So and then we go right to an interview with Renee and with Saraya and Ruby, and Saraya congratulated Toni for doing it on her own. She says, "We couldn't be prouder, I guess." She says, "A year ago, Toni was the champ, and then she lost her belt. She lost her friends. She lost her top spot. She's lost her mind, and she's crazy. And she's going to lose the match next week at Grand Slam and be left with nothing." And so I assume that means they're no more. And it's funny that she's talking about taking everything from Toni Storm when we got the same thing in the main event. But I'm
trying to imagine a Toni Storm title reign in this character, though.
I don't know. I mean,
that's the only thing that's keeping me from agreeing with you about that is that I don't know.
Well, I'm just having a hard time picturing Saraya as a champion at all. But
Saraya is not long for this title. It was for the Wembley gig, and I don't even know if she's long for this company, to be honest with you.
Well, this will be a year, and I don't know how long.
I haven't heard anything or anything like that. It just feels like, all right, we paid a lot of money for this, and we're not quite getting what we want out of it.
What did we set her over under at? We set it, I think, at 10 matches. So we're getting close.
Yeah. It seems, although that would also be terrible for Toni as well. If you hot potato the title back onto Toni just for her to lose to either a Shida or a Britt at this point.
Yeah, I was expecting Britt to win, honestly. So and then just to take the title and then, do whatever you're going to do with Toni, just further that for a while. Maybe she gets back with the Outcast, but they're just having a hard time controlling her. And I think the character works better as a heel, but the problem is it's so damn entertaining that you can't keep the fans from cheering for her.
The idea of putting her back with the Outcast is interesting to me, where it's like everything's cool for now. She's still a little bit crazy, but she has the title.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she's settled down, but now Saraya's the one going crazy about it.
Well, yeah, because Saraya's not going to like her having the belt. Yeah.
Yes.
So
that could be an interesting dynamic, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Next we got the segment I mentioned earlier with Sammy Guevara and Chris Jericho. They played a video package before their interview segment, and it just kind of showed their history. It was really good, and for fans that maybe haven't been watching from the beginning, it really told the story very well about how he came in, and they've been kind of split up a couple times, but not really. They always get back together. They show them hugging a lot, smiling, posing, everything. And when the thing was over, Taz says, "That was beautiful," and Toni was like, "Yeah, I guess." And I thought that was funny. And Jericho says, "You look like a little baby at the beginning there." And Sammy says, "I still don't know the lyrics to Judas." And Jericho says, "Yeah, well, you're off key too anyway, so it doesn't matter." Then he says, "In 2018, I was watching NWA pay-per-view, saw Sammy Guevara. I was blown away, told TK to sign him. Didn't like that panda on your head, but we'll work on that." And I said, I wanted to help you out. Crowd pop for that. Says, over the years, I watched you grow from a boy to a man. I've seen you mature, win titles, get married, and give birth to a baby girl. And then he says, your wife is ready to give birth. It's so weird because twice now people have said that Sammy is having a baby, and then they've had to correct themselves. I don't know if that's
still correct verbiage.
I know it is,
some
but
ways. I mean,
but
it's not literalist. It's like,
no, I know, but I almost wonder if there's some sort of inside joke there because they keep doing it. Sammy thanked him, said, here's where I would normally talk trash, but you're my friend and you inspire me. He said, I used to do code breakers in my mom's backyard. I wanted to come out here and thank you for changing my life. And so many people back there. There'd be no AEW without Chris Jericho. But he says, truthfully, I didn't come here to be Chris Jericho's sidekick. I got here to be the man, to have people look at me like they look at Max, like they look at you. It's not going to happen while I'm in your shadow. I need to beat you next week. Jericho says, you were brought here to be a main event player, a money-making draw, and you're getting closer and closer every week. Months ago, I told you and Garcia you need to do it on your own. Next week, you got the biggest opportunity to do that. You have to beat me to get to the next level. And if you're going to beat me, you're going to have to be the best you've ever been. I don't think you're ready. Sammy said, that's why I need to beat you, because you don't respect me. It's whatever Jericho wants. Next week, I'm going to beat you as this man. This man is going to beat you. And I'm going to earn your respect. And then we're going to shake hands. We're going to hug, and we're going to go win some tag titles. And they shake hands, and Jericho slowly pulls him in, and they do a stare down. Jericho says, next week, I'm going to give you the match of your life. I'm not going to go easy on you. I'm going to beat the living hell out of you. I'm going to punch you harder than I've punched anyone in my life, and I expect the same back from you. Sammy says, I wouldn't want it any other way. Crowd pops, and they close, shaking hands, and Jericho's music plays. I thought this was – I was not looking forward to this match when it was first announced. I'm like, what are you doing? And even last week, I thought they should have lost Aussie Open, and I still kind of think that. But but this sold me, and they have a way of doing this.
This was great. I don't think they shake hands and go win tag titles after this.
I think maybe Callis.
I think someone's going to hold the grudge for losing. Let's put it that way.
Or maybe Callis and Garcia, and because you notice the Jericho Appreciation Society is still together.
Yeah. I think the only critique I'd have, if I had any, was I didn't buy Sammy getting mad at that one line. I think they needed to find something else in there.
Or, he just didn't really need to get mad,
Yeah. It's like, look, Chris, I get it. We're out here together, blah, blah, blah. But next week, I'm going to get your respect type of a thing, as opposed to something Chris says sets him off type of a thing. I found that part a little forced, but overall, this was a great segment. I thought this was possibly the best segment of the night.
I think I agree. I can't think of anything else.
I can't think of anything else right now. So let's
no. It definitely wasn't the next segment, which was Renee with Max last week. After the show. And he says, I'm not cleared, or the doctor tells him he's not cleared for next week. And he says, oh, great, I get a week off. And he says, so these two idiots are going to fight each other, and then I just get to come in and clean up the scraps. And he says, I don't know who's going to win, but I've got two guys in mind that are my betting. They've done this before. They did it with FTR when they, in the Blind Eliminator tournament. Like, it's a little too cute for me, where, allegedly these interviews were taped before the matches, or even if they weren't, like, it's not like this isn't scripted. So, but he says, Roddy the Simp Strong will probably make it. He says he's manipulative. He's a wet blanket and a third wheel. And then he says, sorry, Adam, but it's true. And then he says, the other one is probably going to be Samoa Joe. And he says, Joe, I'm not afraid of you. It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight of the dog. And this New York pit bull has a lot of bite. So you better hope you don't win this tournament, because if you do, I'm going to choke you out. Let me get it through your thick, fat skull. I'm a genetic freak. And then it's like, uh-oh. And then he goes into the Steiner math. And I tried to write it down and I couldn't bother. But he says eventually by the end, after all his math, and Cole couldn't keep a straight face through any of this, he says, I have 141 and 2/3% chance of winning. And you've only got an 8 1/3% chance of winning. And so that means you basically got no chance, because we're better than you, baby. And and then Taz pointed out that math was brought to you by the University of Michigan. A reference from TNA 20 years ago, or whenever it was. Comedy for your world title match.
Is it my turn now?
Oh yeah, go for it.
So a little bit about me. In my mid 30s, I tried to transition into advertising.
Okay.
And I took classes with a bunch of industry professionals. I had a cup of coffee in there, but I was way too old to be a junior writer. And, it was one of those things where I was just like 15 years too late to get into the industry, to be honest with you. But they said something to me that also confirmed something that I use in my coaching for improv as well at times. But it's more true in advertising, usually, that clever is the enemy of smart. And when you're in advertising, and you can tell when you're watching ads, it's like, oh, we got the rights to this song. Let's make an ad campaign around it. And the thing is, those ad campaigns almost always fail all the time to sell or move merchandise. It's a clever ad with this song, but it really doesn't do anything
as opposed to writing a good ad and then finding a song that fits it.
Yes. You saw this a lot with, when Doritos started doing that Super Bowl ad contest.
Yeah.
And it was just a bunch of bad comedy sketches with Doritos involved, but it did absolutely nothing to push the product.
The Budweiser horse,
because they didn't understand it. Yeah.
The Budweiser horse got to be like that. The first few.
Well, no, the Budweiser horse is good because it tugs on emotional heartstrings. They don't try and be clever about it.
Okay.
And I hated this because it goes against a general criticism I have about a lot of, I wouldn't say AEW wrestlers necessarily, but it's true in that we're doing homages to things that happened before us instead of blazing our own path. And for all the criticism of a guy like LA Knight, a lot of people say, oh, well, he's a Rock clone. He's a Steve Austin clone, et cetera, et cetera. He's not trying to be Steve Austin or Rock. He's just kind of using a similar cadence / style. He's not trying to do, Austin 316.
He's doing his own shtick.
He's doing his own shtick in the midst of this.
Yeah.
And that's my issue with this. It's like, somebody going up there and trying to do a Hard Times by Dusty Rhodes promo.
Yeah.
With some of the similar verbiage in there. And it's never going to work because that promo belongs to him. And MJF can cut promos, man. And he settles for clever stuff.
Why are you ripping off TNA?
Why are you ripping off TNA? Why are you ripping off ROH? This was a promo for the internet.
Yeah,
is what this was, because that's who knows the Steiner promo better than anybody.
I thought they did this before in the Punk feud when he word for word copied a promo that Punk had done on Raven. I thought that worked better because
that was less smart because there was no wink, wink, nudge to it.
And if you didn't know, it didn't matter.
Yes,
because I didn't pick up on it right away. And so I just thought, man, that was a great promo. But it kind of sounded vaguely familiar. And then people pointed out, and then I remembered.
Yeah,
I'm an ROH historian.
And we didn't know. And that's the difference between clever and smart as well. Is like
the
wink,
MJF
wink, nudge.
Like the thing at the pay-per-view when Joe shoved him. Like I had seen that, but it didn't even occur to me until I started people blowing it up on Twitter. But if you didn't know about the Steiner math, you have no idea what the hell he's talking about.
Right.
But I mean, I think most people probably did, and
then the button on it by Taz
that was brought to you by the University of Michigan. And
I'm going to explain the joke right now that he just told on there.
Except I'm not really going to explain it because now you need to know that Scott Steiner was in the University of Michigan to get this joke.
Yeah. No, I loathed this promo. I really did.
I liked it up until the Steiner math part. I thought it was really good. Like I thought, other than they're a little too cute about, like last week and next week and all this, they didn't need that.
But it's this was a time to cut $1 million promo against whoever wins this match or whatever.
And he kind of phoned it in.
Yes.
Yeah. We'll probably get.
That's the other thing is clever is lazy.
Yes. Yeah.
Clever is I used to call for drink if Jeff references improv because he's going to do it again. If people were just referencing pop culture type stuff, just to do it, just to be like that, it made for crappy scenes. And I told people, get rid of that. People may laugh, but that doesn't mean you're succeeding. It just means they know the reference. Okay. Yeah,
you're right. And Cole didn't need to be in this promo either. That's the other thing. Like he served no purpose other than laughing at MJF's joke and being there so MJF could apologize to him for calling Roddy a simp.
Yeah, it's the difference between a way the Simpsons do like a movie reference.
Yeah.
And the way that everybody else does a movie
like
reference.
Family Guy, who are like just blatant about it, you know.
Yes.
Yes. But that's okay too, because it's a farce, you know, so it's a little bit, it works on a different level.
Right.
Yeah. They showed highlights of Hangman, Adam Page, and Brian Cage's previous matches during the intros for the next match, which was Hangman Page and Brian Cage. I thought this was a really good match, maybe the best on the show, depending on how you felt about the opener. This just back and forth. And what I really liked here is, you know, everyone always makes fun of Brian Cage about, you know, having to get his shit in here. And I thought he worked like a big man for the most part in this, you know, like he was taking it to Hangman. Hangman was fighting back like a babyface, but Hangman's pretty big too. So, you know, it was more or less just almost like a hoss fight. And but
you know who he's working, how he's working close to is like, I agree with you. It just kind of like hit me. It's like, you know, when big guys get older and they don't want to do as much. Yeah. Almost like a Scott Norton once he came to WCW type.
You're talking Hangman?
No, I'm talking
Oh, Cage. Brian Cage. Okay. Yeah. I can see that. Yeah.
I like that critique that he's working like a big man now.
Which I'm sure that's coaching that he's getting. You got to think like probably guys like Sting and you know, some of the older veterans in the back are saying, stop doing this cruiserweight shit and do this because your body's not going to last. You want 10 years
lumber a bit. Pick him up.
Yeah, so they did, but he still did, you know, the odd thing. He did a moonsault that missed, and you know, he did some other stuff. But most of the stuff that worked was the big man stuff. So they get to the they finally got to a point where the crowd was chanting, "This is awesome." Cage hit just an awesome, like a German suplex where he was standing on the ropes and Hangman was on the apron and he pulled him back into the ring. That was awesome. But then he tried it again later and Hangman blocked him and then beat him down with forearms, pulled his legs out from under him, went for the buckshot, but Cage blocked it. Hangman rolled him up for 2. Then he hit a dead eye and he got the win. And somewhere during the match here, just before the commercial, Swerve's music played and he was out there watching the whole time, but didn't really get involved. Nana was dancing to his music, which is awesome. It was a really good match. And, you know, and it just kind of, you know, played into this Hangman Swerve storyline, which they did a promo thing afterwards. But before I recap it, is anything else you want to add about this match?
I have a question for you as a historian.
Yes.
Has Adam Page ever done the area code?
Yes, he used to do it on Dark. Yeah, he did the 619, which they referred to as the area code. He used to do it on Dark all the time. I don't. Okay. Yeah. And they even brought it. Taz mentioned it. He says, "Oh, an old school reference to AEW Dark." So he, but he never has done it in a big AEW match.
Okay, no, that's why I don't remember it. I thought he might have done it, but I was like, where has he done that? Okay, cool.
Yeah, but they call it the area code, because you can't call it the 619.
They called it its name in Japan, which is the Tiger.
Oh yeah.
Whatever, and they call it the area code something, which
whatever, like his area code is probably like 504.
Well, no, but they called it the area code, and then whatever the rejoinder for Tiger was, not rejoinder, but the noun was.
And then he looked like he was going to drop the dime, but he instead, you know, did something else.
That would have been something.
Yeah, he could do it.
I know, but I'd have hated the show more if he had.
Oh, okay, yeah, because then it's more tributes, right?
Yes, it's more tribute spots.
Yeah, but fun match.
No, I liked it.
Yeah, and Swerve was just basically, he kind of looked impressed, like as he was watching. Like he didn't even come close to getting involved. Like he was standing maybe like a third of the way down the ramp, so he was not even close to the ring. So Hangman grabs a mic and he says, he's talking right at Swerve. He says, "You wanted my spot, but you sent this guy to do your dirty work. And I see that you didn't even bring your balls there in Prince Nana's Burger King crown." And Swerve just kind of nods at him and he says, "What's up, turd?" And I always like when he says that. And he says, "Those sound like fighting words, but you think this can be solved tonight? You must be stupider than the Cincinnati education system." He says, "We do this when I say, where I say. And that just happens. It just so happens that I choose the great state that birthed good old Swerve Strickland, Seattle, Washington. Wrestle Dream, me and you. But I'm going to make sure you don't get too comfortable. So the Mogul Embassy is going to tune you up a bit. And then that was Brian Cage's cue to attack Hangman from behind. And he beats on him for a little while. Swerve laughs. Nana's dancing. He's doing Garcia's dance for a second there. And just he wouldn't stop dancing. The Young Bucks make the save. They lay out Brian Cage. And then they just stare at Prince Nana as he's dancing. And this went on a little bit too long. But it was
a little bit too long.
But it was funny. And then finally he turns around. They super kicked him. And Swerve just looked on. I thought this was nice. It kind of establishes the Bucks and Hangman together. We're probably going to get a 6-man with, I would assume, Cage and Swerve and someone else in the embassy.
It was a timing spot. And the thing I laughed at was Dancing Buck dancing a little bit too long and then had to hit the super kick. I'm just like, dude.
Yeah, they were dancing. Yeah, they were doing the same dance as
not.
Oh, you know what? I made a mistake. It's me, Cage and the Gates of Agony. Swerve's not going to get his hands dirty. It'll be Cage and the Gates of Agony probably next week on Dynamite against, or maybe Collision against these guys.
Have they done that match before?
I don't know.
That sounds like a match they've done before.
Well, they can do it again.
Okay.
I'm not sure if they have actually. The Hung Bucks haven't done that many matches together. So,
maybe I'm thinking Omega and the Bucks have done that match.
That could be, yeah. But I think the Hung Bucks and Gate and the Mogul Embassy is definitely happening to build up to that singles match.
To the end of it.
We got Renee. Speaking of Daniel Garcia, we got him with Renee, and she says earlier we heard from Jericho and Sammy, and then Garcia interrupts and says, "I thought you wanted to talk about me." He said, "But you're asking me about these two idiots." He says, "Why don't you ask me about the Arizona Cardinals doing my dance? Why don't you ask me about how I went viral 4 times in the last month?" And before he can go on, he gets interrupted by Don Callis and says, "I want to hear more." And he says, "When you're around Jericho, it's all about him. But we here in the Callis family, we're going to conduct a utopian meritocracy." And Garcia puts his hand up and he starts dancing in his face. And then he puts his hand out and he walks off. And Don Callis looks at Renee and says, "Wow, that's money." And he goes after him.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand that reaction to it, but okay.
Oh, I did. I mean, he's disingenuous. Like he actually thinks that the Garcia is auditioning for him.
Okay, I thought he was saying I can change this man, so I have to.
No. He's so delusional that he thinks Garcia is trying to show him how great he is. Or he's trying to convince Garcia that he thinks that.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
He's trying to.
He's trying to convince him that.
That was great. Come on over, sign in my family, and eventually I'll make you into
Twan helped us out here. The Tiger Feint kick.
Tiger Feint.
He Googled because we were too lazy to. Thank you, Twan.
Well, I was trying to concentrate on the show versus being on the computer.
I forgot about the conversation already. So
thank you.
We got highlights of Collision and Jade's return. And then they announced Chris Statlander against Jade. Not on Collision.
No.
Not on the Grand Slam Dynamite.
No.
Not on Wrestle Dream.
No.
On Rampage.
Rampage
on Friday night at 10 o'clock when 2/3 of the people watching the show are going to be getting drunk at a bar. Oh, I just lost Jeff. Hopefully Jeff joins us again in a second. I think he still has the link. So when he shows up, I'll let him in the room. But yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm curious. Oh, here's Jeff again. Here he is.
I went to go Google to see what the Rampage spoilers were. And I did in our window.
Do you know?
No, I'm about to go find out.
Oh, okay. Twan thinks it'll main event Rampage. I don't know if we necessarily want to spoil that one, but maybe we'll give people a warning and say, mute us for 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Because I am curious because I have no idea what they're going to do. Like, do you take the title off Statlander? Do you beat Jade in her first match back? My gut says Jade wins, and
my gut says Jade wins, but yeah, that's just
could be our DQ that we talked about.
Do we get a female Hoss team out of this? Like mutual respect? I think we get you know what I think we get is I think we get a screw job.
Yeah, that could be.
And then that leads to something else.
Rematch at one of these big
shows.
Oh,
look, the baddies are out, or Mark Sterling does something.
I saw Layla Gray in OVW. She's been killing it there. She's the baddie. Layla Gray.
Well, yeah, she's doing something here. like this pilot, and there's somebody else that's signed. Oh, the Renegade Twins are in it too. It's this United or Universal World of Women of Wrestling or something like that.
Oh,
It's
really?
it's.
Okay, so they're not actually signed to AEW
I
then.
think they are signed. That's the weird thing, or at least they're signed to
Well,
some sort of contract
maybe
where
they're
they can
just
do
on the
that.
per date thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that could be
Tier
it too.
1, I think they called it.
Okay.
There's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and then like the Cody tier.
But
And
like I've said before, I respect the hell out of Layla Gray and
Yeah.
others who have signed and are still hustling out there. But I get the feeling we might get like the return of Red Velvet, who's still out there.
Yeah, maybe,
And
or we get a heel. Well, no, I think Jade's a heel, so I think like it's hard to say, but I really hope. I mean, I hope they don't take. I mean, she's had the belt now since May, so it's not like it feels like it hasn't been that long, but that's 4 months.
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you could take it off of her, but it seems weird to do it on a Rampage.
Yeah, she also needs a bit of refresh. No offense,
Yeah.
but her promos have been dreadful.
I think we're going to end up with some sort of a non-finish and then lead to a rematch. But who knows? The only thing is I could see is maybe this is a way to write one of them off.
Yes.
You know, like it's possible that Jade just came back for this one match and she's going to put Statlander over in a real match and then disappear. Or maybe Statlander's injured. And, you know, and then,
well, that wouldn't shock me if she were again.
Yeah. Layla Gray, hometown girl in Queens. Yeah, we could see her come back. Or maybe, you know, Chris wins and then she gets challenged by her next challenger. You know, who knows? I think Jade's got friends in Queens too. So it's kind of almost like a hometown for her. Next, we got Darby and Nick Wayne against 2.0. This match was fine. It was basically an enhancement match that went through a commercial break. Nick Wayne worked most of the match. Christian Cage was on commentary. He had some good stuff. He said Nick Wayne needed a mentor. Tony Schiavone said that's Darby. And then Christian went off on guys hiding behind face paint, unlike your TNT champion, Christian Cage, which is funny because the real TNT champion is Luchasaurus, who hides behind a mask. I don't think that was an accident that he said that. And then later on, Nick Wayne is wrestling the whole match. He keeps trying to make the tag and he can't make it. And Christian says he might be doing better with a different mentor. He finally makes a hot tag. Darby ran wild, hit the coffin splash, running dives, double drop kick. Code Red only got a 2. Darby was selling his back. They showed Anna Jay at ringside. So Jay and Hager were both there with these guys. And Garcia, I think, is still with them too. So it's kind of weird that they're all still together, even though there's no Jericho Appreciation Society. Nick Wayne hit Wayne's World on Angela Parker, but Matt Menard pulled Nick Wayne off. Then Darby hit a senton off the apron onto Menard. Coffin dropped by Darby on Parker, while Nick Wayne did a moonsault on the outside to Menard, and they got the win. And that was that. Just a fine, nice little squash match. 2.0 is fine little jobbers.
Yeah, no,
that's all they're gonna ever be, and
they're fantastically ridiculous. I love it.
And you know what? Like, there's a role for that, and they're real good at it. So there's no issue there. Christian says, "I'm sick and tired of these guys."
Although, Paul, I need just that mid card feud of 2.0 versus the Outrunners.
Yeah. Well, Ring of Honor, you know, like
sure.
Yeah.
Just give it to me and give me promos. That's all.
You know what? I really want to see that is in OVW where they'll get some time.
Yeah.
So Christian, he's sick and tired of these guys. Grabs a mic and he says he mocked their victory, told the crowd to sit down and shut up. I'm trying to conduct business here. And he tells Nick, I scrolled through your mom's Instagram. He says, a couple things bother me. There's not enough bikini pics. So I sent her a special request on the side to get some. And then he said, we're still talking about Darby and Sting's victory at All In. And it's really starting to piss me off. As a franchise player here, it's embarrassing. So I think we're building to Christian against Sting at some point, but
sounds like it.
He says it's not losing to the Browns embarrassing. And at this point, Jeff is throwing stuff at his TV.
No. I just nodded and goes, no, he's right.
Okay.
That was just an embarrassing performance by the Cincinnati Bengals.
My God. That was Joe Burrow, starting quarterback on 2 of my fantasy teams.
Look, I've got enough of that crap. All right. Your quarterback blew my way. Look,
I'm not blaming you.
Okay. You didn't, but others did.
Yeah, no, I know. He says, I didn't take the loss for my team and I didn't have my regular partner with me. So he's blaming Swerve. He said, it's time to right that wrong. Next week, Christian and Luchasaurus versus Christian Cage, the TNT champion and the most complete big man in the sport, Luchasaurus. So I love the way he put TNT champion in between their two names, like he always does. And and Tony's always correcting him, but he didn't actually say he was the champion. He kind of does, but he doesn't.
I have
And
an
he says,
interesting spoiler if you want it.
if you've got the balls, I'll see you in New York City. Okay. Spoiler alert. Mute us for 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
All right.
Statlander. Oh,
Okay. Starting now.
yes. Statlander retained.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see how that plays out on AEW Rampage. I'm sure everybody watching will be watching, or maybe you'll just check the spoilers and go out and do whatever you're going to do on Friday night. Speaking of Rampage, anything you want to say about Christian's promo?
I howled. I howl at your mom needs more bikini photos. And then I went to look her up, and I was like,
yeah,
okay.
I want them to be a couple. Like, I really do. I'm
Christian's.
What's the word? I'm shipping for them.
He's about to be single again, so you never know.
His girl needs a new mom.
Alvarez put this out there into the world. I know Christian's only part-time now, but I just need one run with Callis and Christian together.
Oh my God.
Dude, that would be must-see television for me.
You could build a promotion around that.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know what you would do with them, but whatever it is, I'm watching. Like, whether.
And it sounded a little bit like it was originally going to be Christian and a mystery partner. Oh, which also would have been interesting, but I don't think those plans.
The mystery partner might not be available.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, because he's the most complete big man in the sport, without saying the name, but then he did say the TNT champion. So
yes,
that could have been a certain former partner of his.
Yeah.
Who will remain nameless. Adam Copeland. All right. Speaking of Rampage, this feels like a repeat. The Acclaimed and Daddy Ass in action.
Yes.
We see that every week. Kingdom against Daniels and Sadal. Okay, that's new.
That's new, but it feels like I've watched it 100 times.
Lucha Brothers and the Hardy Brothers against Butcher, Blade, Jeff Jarrett, and Jay Lethal. So this is like Ring of Honor on Friday now, right? Like,
yes.
Okay, just making sure. And then of course we got that Jade match. So what is there? 4 matches? No, 3. Yeah, 4 matches. Although, and I assume the Jade match will be the main event.
Yes.
All right. Collision. We have just a couple matches announced. Starks and Big Bill against Danielson and Claudio. And FTR defending the tag team titles in an open challenge match against. Is it the Lucha Bros?
No.
It's the Hardy Brothers?
No.
Is it Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal?
No.
It's the Iron Savages. The former Bear Country.
Can we talk about this for a moment?
Yes.
Open challenges, battle royals, and random tournaments.
Eliminator tournaments, yeah.
This is lazy.
Yes. Yeah.
Book something. I'm amazed that, and it's not bad if one person has an open challenge thing and there's a thing to that, but like 3 champions going, I'll just put my title up against anybody. Why aren't we getting like hundreds of people rushing in to get these spots, et cetera, et cetera? Instead, it's like, the Iron Grenadiers is what they used to be known as, or
I'm looking at something here. Okay. I'm just trying to find out. I think I have a suspicion, but I want to make sure it's true. Okay. If you're not counting Dark or Elevation,
correct.
You and I have the same amount of tag team wins in AEW as the Iron Savages do. Could we make this open challenge?
Because they got their. Well, I'm not tagging with you.
Oh,
I'd turn on you in a heartbeat.
Good point.
It would be a horseman beatdown.
Yeah, but
Me and FTR. Are you kidding me?
They have never won a match on AEW television. And they've lost a lot. I'm not a lot, but maybe like 10.
Can I ask another random question? Because this video is on loop on my Twitter feed over and over again. Why did Will Ospreay get a tattoo of the Wembley thing when he wasn't the main event at Wembley?
Because he thinks he was.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good enough for me.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? Is it over the comedy match involving the Ring of Honor tag team champions fighting each other against each other, or is it Will Ospreay against the GOAT? So,
I just
I'm just saying.
This is open. Okay, so FTR has an open challenge, and we get the Iron Savages first.
None of these other teams.
Iron Grenadiers, by the way, is a Cobra thing from G.I.
The history of professional wrestling, and I'm starting to sound like James McDaniel on the Boom. And the Iron Savages are your challengers. Okay, I'm sure they're going to win. And then Grand Slam next week. I went over this card before. Moxley and Phoenix for the national title, Saraya and Toni for the women's title, Claudio and Eddie for the Ring of Honor title and the NJPW Strong title, Jericho and Sammy, no title on the line, MJF against the winner of the tourney. Well, we already spoiled that, Samoa Joe. And then Wrestle Dream, 2 matches. Swerve and Hangman is official now, and Danielson and Zack Sabre Jr. in a battle of the 2 best technical wrestlers of all time.
We couldn't fit in the 30-second Zack Sabre Jr. reaction to that on this show.
I guess not. Maybe it'll be on Collision. They showed the highlights of the tournament from Collision this past weekend, and that led into the main event, which was Roderick Strong and Samoa Joe. Match straight out of Ring of Honor in 2006. And that's not necessarily
that's not a bad thing necessarily.
No. Although, I mean, it looked exactly like a match out of Ring of Honor in 2006. Like, they had the exact match that you would expect. And if you like that, great. I'm an ROH historian, so I enjoyed it. The fans in attendance, they seemed kind of not interested in it for a while. They got into it at the end when Joe started just doing his power moves. They at the start of the match, the Kingdom took off the neck brace, and then Taz was talking about how he wrestled with a broken neck, so he believes Roddy. And then Tony Schiavone asked Taz, "Did you use a gimmick neck brace like Roddy does?" And Taz, I think he broke him because you didn't hear an answer from Taz.
Yeah.
And then they had their match. They again, it was back and forth. Roddy actually got a lot more than I thought he would. I remember my friend Chris Samsa. Oh yeah, Jeff Samsa challenging. Yeah, Chris Samsa on he was feeding Kevin Kelly stats on Collision, and he pointed out that if the match goes longer than 10 minutes, Joe is more likely to lose. And this match started with 15 minutes left in the show. So I'm like, there's something there, But Joe actually ended up winning it, I think, in a little less than 10 minutes. There was a lot of time left in this show when the match ended.
I looked too. It was like, there's 5 minutes left. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So the crowd started to get into it when Roddy went for a dive in the corner, and Joe just picked him up with one hand in midair and slammed him to the ground. And that's what got the crowd. Then he set him up for a muscle buster. Kingdom got involved. Roddy gave him a backbreaker and a high knee for 2. Fans are chanting, let's go, Joe. Roddy ran at him, and Joe just clotheslined him in midair, which is a great spot. And then he slapped on the Coquina clutch, and Roddy tapped. This was a fine match. It wasn't, a match of the year. It was
nothing special, but it was solid.
It was perfectly fine opener.
It was acceptable. Perfectly cromulent.
Yeah, but I mean, it was what it needed to be, honestly.
Yes.
Like, he won decisively, but he didn't make Roddy look too bad, because I think Roddy's probably got a big match coming up.
Again, this is a place where I might do a DQ.
Well, if Roddy was going to win, yeah, I would have said that. But I think if Joe was going to win, you need to win.
Well, my point is, if they see something at an upper level of Roddy coming out of this, either against Cole or MJF even.
Yeah, but
instead they screw this up with the Kingdom somehow, and then they blow it for Roddy, and Joe goes on to the finals anyways, because that's the rules of the tournament.
But as you mentioned, this match was over, and there was still 5 minutes left in the show. So it's like, okay, we're going to get some sort of a big angle coming out of this. And Joe grabs a mic and he says, "Oh, Max, seems my little prophecies come true. Next week, I go to your backyard and I'm coming for you. I'm going to walk you down, beat you up, and take everything you have, kid. Everything." And then he walks off. And you see in the background, and this is Chekhov's thing or whatever, because the Kingdom haven't left yet. And they're tending to Roddy. Roddy gets to his feet. The Kingdom are trying to put his neck brace on, and Roddy's like, no, it's over. I'm done with this gimmick, like, I'm done. And then Adam Cole comes out. I don't know why. That's the one question I don't really know why exactly Cole came out here. But he did. And as soon as he starts coming out, Roddy sees it and he falls to the ground and starts acting like his neck is hurt.
Well,
and
he was stumbling, and then Adam comes out and he sees him and he does the most fake.
Yes, but it was the most fake, but we were supposed to know it was fake. So
were we? Because this was a question, because I thought Tony bought in, but for some reason my audio was cutting out on my feed.
Oh, no.
And Excalibur was all of a sudden treating this very seriously. And
no. It was obvious that it was fake. Okay. But what they were saying was, because of what they're saying and how he's acting, they have to treat it seriously. Okay. Even though they're like 95% sure he's full of shit.
All right.
There's a 5% chance he's really hurt. So we kind of have to treat it like he's really hurt.
This was Al Cervic. Oh, my arm.
Yeah.
From Caddyshack.
So weird. So the Kingdom all of a sudden, they're not arguing with Roddy. They're right in there. They're yelling at Cole. This is your fault. He came out here. You threw him off. He fell. It's your fault. And they're yelling at him. I noted that Cole was wearing a Brochachos for Life shirt, which I guess is new merch. They bring out a stretcher. They got the cervical neck thing. They put it on Roddy, and they're putting on. All the while, Roddy's screaming out, Adam! The Kingdom are very concerned, to the point where Mike Bennett says to the camera, I'm very concerned. Laughing at that. And Matt Taven is he's on Adam Cole. This is your fault. This is your fault. And Cole keeps trying to get to Roddy to check on him. The fans are applauding, like doing like the clap when like the quarterback gets hauled off after a big hit. Like they don't know exactly how to react to this.
Just need a Roddy thumbs up.
Yeah. And so they get them off, and then Adam Cole's just standing there, and then he gets attacked from behind by Samoa Joe, and he puts him in the Kakina clutch, and he's screaming at the camera. He says, I told you I was going to take everything, Max. Everything. And he looks at Cole, and he just lays Cole out in a heap and leaves him on the ramp. And he walks back and he says, I'm taking everything from you, kid. And he posed over his fallen body with the same pose that MJF does. And as the thing ends, now the refs and the doctors are all coming out to check on Cole. And he came to, and he was fine by the end. But I'm not exactly sure where they're going with this, but I mean, I thought it was a bit of a swing and a miss, but maybe people are really into it and are curious to see what's going to happen. I don't know.
I don't know either, because I actually thought the end of this tournament was going to turn out to be a three-way with Roddy and Joe both having to face MJF at the same time.
Well, I think this was to build Cole and Strong, but I don't know.
That's my opinion too.
Yeah, but I'm also I did have an idea that popped into my head during all this. What if Joe actually is the one that takes like the Kingdom? Like maybe the Kingdom are working with Joe somehow. I don't know.
I came out of this going belt Joe, and they're not going to. I get
no.
Because there's
I'm not saying your idea is bad. I'm just saying
I get that.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where it's like Joe's the kind of champion I want in wrestling.
Yeah.
The serious ass kicker who can occasionally, have a clever line, even though I hate clever.
He was the de facto babyface here, and the crowd was pretty much into him.
Yeah.
Even though he's been a massive heel, and he turned back heel at the end of the match. So,
I don't see the Kingdom with Joe unless they're going hard in that I'm the king of television thing.
Well, when he said I'm taking everything from you, I was trying to think, what's he talking about? And I mean, it could be just Cole, but. And I'm taking your best friend away. Like, I guess I don't know,
from MJF or from Cole, because I thought he was directing that to MJF. I'm taking.
He was so what he's taking away is MJF's best friend. He took out Cole.
Yes, and he's going to take away. He wants to take away title. The belt.
Yeah, obviously.
Maybe the scarf.
Maybe the ring. I don't know.
The ring. Yeah. What else does MJF have really?
Yeah, nothing else really. And the most important thing to him now is the friendship, right? He said that it's more important than the belt, because he threw the belt at Cole and says, "Take it."
All right, that'd be an interesting twist to figure out a way for Joe to take away the friendship.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I don't know if they can do that in the match.
Unless Cole's just not there. It is interesting. We haven't really seen Cole wrestle much.
No.
Like he wrestled at Wembley, and they did wrestle at tag team match at the Ring of Honor pay-per-view at All Out, but which was kind of a Ring of Honor pay-per-view. But he didn't. I don't recall him doing a hell of a lot in that match.
No.
And so it'll be interesting to see where they go next week. But yeah, we got a nice challenger here, and I'm sure somebody's probably figured out where they're going, and they'll fill me in. But as of right now, I don't know, and I'm interested. I thought the build for MJF and Joe has been good, other than that comedy stuff that MJF was doing.
Well, this drive tickets though, I don't think it will.
Well, I think MJF and Joe is a match people want to see.
Okay.
But I mean, is it one you need to see live? I don't know.
That's true too.
Yeah, and if it was MJF, I think the tickets would have already sold. If it's about MJF defending the title, you've known that for months, so you've already bought your tickets.
Yeah.
And I know people that have gone to the other two and aren't going this time, and it's because of the ticket prices. So,
were they that jacked up? Yeah, you
yeah. So I mean, maybe the fact that
those tickets will be dropping dramatically this week.
Yeah, but the problem is we're talking people that are traveling, and they're not going to travel now.
Yeah, Grand Slam's not a travel show anymore because they've done it a few times.
Well, no, I mean it would have been if the tickets were reasonable.
I don't think so. I don't think it's a travel show.
Well, the guys I'm talking about were going to travel to.
Oh, were they? Okay.
Yeah, but they didn't want to because of the ticket prices. So I mean, when the ticket prices are more than your plane ticket, that's where you say maybe I'll just watch it on TV. So all right. I did mention earlier in the show that I wanted to talk about. I just got to find this tweet here. Oh yeah, here we go. With the news that Bryan Danielson wrestling his last year as a full-time performer, who'd you book his last AEW match with? So we got some responses. Will Cooling, writer for I can't remember the name of the magazine he writes for in the UK, but
he also does stuff for the Torch, or he used to.
Right. Yeah. And he's got his own Substack. It could be told or something like that. He said Danielson and Ospreay at Wembley for a title. Could be the International, could be the World, doesn't matter. Would be a hell of a send-off for him. I like that. Our friend DJ Convoy said Moxley for the Symmetry. I like that. Matt Johnson at Viva Matty Vegas on Twitter said if there's no big names that come in, a 90-minute Iron Man match with Kenny Omega is what he would do.
That's a good one.
Ricky Starks, Paul likes Brooks. Oh, it's Paul likes books. I thought it was Paul likes Brooks, and it was like a parody account of me or something. But Starks, go out on his back, putting a new main event talent over. That sounds like something Danielson would like.
That's a solid one, but that's way too much in the future.
Yeah. Anurag at Ananoy on Twitter, Omega, poetic because it was his first match. Honky Kong, Danielson and Nigel at Wembley. I like that.
That's my choice.
Okay. All right. And another guy suggested that, Bob Builder at Bob Builder CWFIY. And Billy Gunn Fact, which is some sort of parody of Fact. He wants Billy Gunn. And then I did get some quote tweets, so let's just see.
Well, the thing is, for me at least, I mean, Tony Khan is so into Ring of Honor lore for some reason.
Yeah,
that would be a perfect closure to me. Is his greatest opponent. I mean, because there's only two guys I can think of that would be great closures for Danielson's career in terms of either his Ring of Honor history or his WWE history, and I don't think they're going to get Glenn Jacobs.
Oh yeah, man, that would be sweet. That would be nice. Punk would be a good one. That's never happening.
No, well, you never know.
Yeah, but
he goes a year. The Bucks may start talking to him again.
I did have some reposts, but I didn't. Rovert had a good one. Danielson versus himself, like in the Fight Forever game. That'd be a good match. That's all I can say. I don't think it can happen in real life, unfortunately. And that was it. I think there was some in our Discord too, but I don't have.
Boy, if you're gonna put over a new star, though, it would have to be a guy like Garcia.
Well, he already put over Garcia once.
Yeah.
Sammy. Jack Perry.
Perry's not much of a technician, but yeah.
Although I wouldn't care less if I never see Jack Perry again. But that's a whole other issue. I mean, could be somebody. Hook. I mean, that seems really early for Hook, though. If we're talking a year from now.
In a year, he's been a pro for 2 years, 3 years. That's good enough.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that would
if he's
fit his
training.
gimmick. That would fit his gimmick, like as the kind of a shooter, right? In his dad's vein.
Yeah.
Are there any other young guys I mean, they do have a lot of young talent, but and there's time to build
But
them up.
none of them are really technicians that you'd think that's the match that he'd want.
Garcia is the best bet for that.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, they could do it because I think it was a bit of a screw job the last time. Didn't like Jake Hager pull the ref out or something from under the ring?
Yeah. His arm came out of the ring and did something to him.
So I mean, you could do a clean win.
I do think though that Nigel is a nice story if Nigel can come back and get cleared.
If he can do one match, I would like that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of fun ones you could do, like Sting, Christian, if you get Edge, I do like the idea of Danielson and Big Bill in a match against each other on Collision this week, because wasn't that his best match in WWE was against Danielson?
And that's the one where he got re-hurt as well.
Yeah.
Re-injured. He re-injured his I think he tore his ACL on that one.
That was Danielson or
no, Bill.
Oh. I also noted when I was watching
because you remember that was the time when they were going to push Bill over Danielson, and it made people apoplectic about things.
Yeah. Moxley won the title from Orange Cassidy, who I would refer to as Little Cass, and then today he defended against Big Cass. I'm here all
see that's that clever thing we were talking about earlier.
Yeah. But I thought it was good. And then when I thought of that,
I wish I had just given you a longer stare so that they could have made me an emoji. Right.
In my notes, I kept writing Big Cass, and I had to change them all because I knew I would say Big Cass when I was recapping it on the air here. So I think that's it. We can wrap it up. We're a little bit less than we normally go, but that's fine because I got shit to do. Pardon my French.
The hell with this show, people. I got stuff to do.
No, you know what? No, we'll have a big show next week because it's a loaded up show.
Yes.
Grand Slam. So, Jeff, tell the good people where they can hear you and see you.
I am at crapgame13 on x.com, no longer Twitter. I do a show called Shake Them Ropes with Chris Novembrino over on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. I am deep in the bubble. He no longer gives a crap about the bubble. It's kind of a fun deal. We will talk WWE. We'll talk Becky Lynch. We'll talk the merger of TKO, and we'll talk whatever news comes up this week in the next couple of days, because something's going to happen late this week, and that's where we come in. That'll drop sometime probably Friday night, Saturday morning.
Speaking of that merger, my other podcast I do on this network, In the Clinch with Ryan Frederick, we talked about that as well last night or this morning, I guess. And so if you haven't listened to that, you can check it out. It was in more towards the end of the show, so we talked about that. We also talked about the controversy at this past weekend's UFC with the fighters
promos.
Yeah, which almost caused me to give up on UFC altogether, but that's a whole other story.
I thought Dana, by the way, I just as an aside, I thought Dana White was a little bit too dismissive of the lack of crossover between wrestling fans and MMA fans. I think it's a fairly significant crossover, to be honest with you.
It's hard to tell. I think for the big shows, yeah. But maybe not for the run of the mill weekly shows.
Yeah, you're right.
And that would go for both. So I think you probably got some UFC fans checking out WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, and you've got WWE fans checking out, when Jon Jones fights, when Conor fights, but maybe even this past weekend when Adesanya was fighting because he's one of their bigger stars, but maybe not for, next month, whatever that is going to be. Actually, it's Islam Makhachev and Charles Oliveira. That's for hardcores, but I don't think there's a lot of WWE fans that give two craps about that. Speaking of WWE, I'll also be doing the wrap on this network. Yeah, this weekend I'm filling in for Scott Young. So myself and Keela Cash will be chopping it up. All things WWE. I guess we have Salty Scott. Maybe I'll be Prickly Paul. I don't know. We'll find out. Giggly Grandpa. I don't know.
We'll focus group test that one.
Yeah, we'll come up with a name. We'll come up with a name. So for Jeff, I've been Paul, and this has been the Dynamite Show. Toodles.